Good morning everyone. It's me Chandrakala here. Today we will start second section of our first chapter, that is measurement of length. In first section we have seen units of length, time and mass. And in this section we will see how to measure length. Okay, and here we will see some instruments which will measure a small value of length. That means, as we have seen in the units, according to the requirement of our physical quantity we will be using the units. So here we will learn about two things. One is the vernier calipers and one is the screw gauge. So for that, first of all, we know that we will need an instrument to measure any physical quantity. For example, we use thermometer to use to measure temperature. Similarly, calorimeter to measure heat. Similarly, for current, we are using a meter. For potential difference, voltmeter. That means whenever we will need to measure any physical quantity, we will need an instrument. Okay, and then size of that instrument depends, that means the size of measurement of that instrument which it will give, that depends on quantity of our physical quantity. If we have to measure a larger quantity, we will have to use instrument likewise which will give us measurement in the larger quantities, and if we will have to use a measure a small quantity, we will use accordingly. For example, for measuring normally current in the experiments, we use an ammeter, okay, which is given in amperes. But if you want to measure less amount of current, we will use microammeter or milliammeter accordingly. So that means it depends on the requirement of the measurement. If the physical quantity which has to be measured is in a larger quantity, then we will have to use a larger unit or instrument which will give us the larger unit, or otherwise smaller units. Okay, so here we are talking only about length. So generally we use centimeter scale or meter scale to measure a small length. Small length means you can say the length of a small thread, or you can say the length of a line segment likewise. So this is 1 centimeter scale. We know that on our centimeter scale, these larger markings are indicating measurement in centimeters, because this is centimeter scale, so it will give us measurement in centimeters. But along with that, we are having some smaller units also, smaller divisions also here. This is 1 centimeter, that we know, but how much this is? This is 1 millimeter. That means smaller than centimeter. This unit millimeter is smaller than centimeter, because in 1 centimeter we are having 10 divisions here. That means 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeter. This normally also we know that 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeter. So if you want to measure length of 1 centimeter, then your object whose length you are measuring, that should be starting from here and ending at this point. Then you will say it's 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter, 3 centimeter likewise. But what if it lies somewhere in between here, suppose up to here? Suppose a thread was there and it's measuring up to here. Then what will you say? What is the measurement? You will say it is actually 1.2 centimeter, because this is 1, then 1 and 2. This is 1.1, this is 1.2, so it is 1.2 centimeter. This you will say. And clearly from here you mean that this is 1 centimeter and 2 millimeter. Or otherwise you can say the same thing in other words, that it is 1 plus 0.2 centimeter. 1.0.2 centimeter, 1 plus 0.2 centimeter is equal to 1.2 centimeter. So what is this? This is millimeter. That means if the measurement is not up to the next larger end or of the division, if it is somewhere in between there, for that measurement already this centimeter scale has given you a smaller unit, that is millimeter. That okay, if the object is not reaching up to here or not ending here, then in between here also you can measure the objects. These all things we already know. But here the first thing is we have to see the definition of least count. Okay, we have to see definition of least count. Least count means actually the measurement which can be done by that instrument with 100% accuracy, or you can say accurately. That value is known as least count. So in definition we are having that least count is the minimum value minimum value measured by the instrument accurately, that is known as list count. Now obviously from here, what is the minimum value that you can measure? You can measure up to here, this is the minimum value, that is millimeter. Minimum value you can measure is in millimeters. If your thread needs even smaller value, that means smaller than millimeter, then you cannot measure it with the help of this scale. Suppose this same thread, it is not ending here, but instead of this, its one end is here now at this point. Now what will you say about this? What will you say about this line? This is not 1.2, this is also not 1.3, it is somewhere in between that, but you cannot tell how much. The reason is because this centimeter scale has a list count of 1 millimeter only. With accuracy, it can give values only in millimeters. And here you need a value smaller than millimeter. That means it is already 2 millimeter, but still here something. That means more than 2 and less than 3. But we don't know what it is. However, you can get an idea. For example, you can say it's 1.25. But in science, only ideas doesn't work, means only ideas and imaginations. If we are saying something, we will have to prove it, and you cannot prove it. Okay, so that means what? That means this millimeter is the minimum length which can be measured by this meter scale. So this is the list count of this scale. Okay, next thing, here we are talking about length, so we are talking about scale. It's not only about scale, it can be for anything. That means all the instrument has their list count, whether you are using an ammeter, whether you are using an voltmeter, thermometer, anything. The smallest division, measurement of smallest division on that instrument is known as list count. Okay, our next work will be how to find out list count, because if you will continue with physics, then this concept you will have to use each and every day, because physics means measurements and physics means physical quantities. So if you are studying about physical quantities, you will have to measure them, and for measurement we will need list count. Okay, so to find list count, what we have to see is the difference between these two larger divisions. This is 0, this is 1, that means the difference is 1. Similarly, here the difference is 1. Between 1 and 2, the difference is 1. Between 2 and 3, the difference will be 1. That means on this centimeter scale, difference between any two larger scales, any two larger divisions is 1. See, it's not necessary that it will be always 1. In case of scales, you will get it 1, but we will see it later. Right now, the difference between two larger divisions is 1. So we are writing 1 in the numerator divided by total number of smaller divisions between them. And we know that between 0 and 1, we will have total 10 divisions. So we will divide it by 10. That is equal to 0.1. And since this 1 was in centimeter, so you will say centimeter. That means this centimeter scale has a list count of 0.1 centimeter, and in other words, list count is 0.1 centimeter, and that is equal to 1 millimeter also, because we know that 1 upon 10, that means 0.1 centimeter is equal to 1 millimeter. Okay, so that means list count of this scale is this one. Okay, if it is any ammeter or any voltmeter, speedometer or anything, thermometer, anything, so if the it will also have some larger divisions and some smaller divisions in between them. So what we have to do is, we will have to see the difference between two larger divisions. If here it's written 0, here it's written 5, then the distance or the difference, see, it's not distance because it is not scale. So difference between both these, how much it is? 5 minus 0 is 5. So difference between two larger divisions is 5. That will be our numerator, divided by total number of divisions. If you have here 5 divisions, you will write down here 5 and your list count will be 1. And if you have here 10 divisions, then you will do it divided by 10, and then it will be 1 by 2, that will be equal to 0.5 unit we will see later. Okay, so 0.5. Similarly, it can be 5 upon 20 also, it can be 10 upon 5 also. So what we have to do to find out least count, we have to see maximum difference between these. That means obviously there will be one difference only, not maximum and minimum. So difference between two larger divisions divided by total number of smaller divisions which it has, that will be, we will be dividing it by that and we will be getting our least count. Now see unit. Unit depends on this quantity which you are measuring. For example, if this is a meter, that means you will obviously use it for current, and your unit will be ampere. Okay, and it can be milliampere, microampere, as I said, I'm taking normally. Okay, and if you are talking about speed, then it can be meter per second, and if it is calibrated in kilometer per hour, then it can be kilometer per hour also. That means we don't know what will be the unit, that we will decide at the time of the measurement, because we already learnt the units of our physical quantity. So unit we will put later. Here our work is how to find out least count. So likewise we will find out least count. Now we have to learn two instruments for measurement of length only, we will learn here, that is the vernier calipers and screw gauge. So we will start our topic with vernier caliper in next class. Thank you.